Hey, what's going on? Keith here from Sports Vibes TV, and I'm joined as always by my co-host Stephen Fox. Foxy, how's everything with you?
All is well. Shout out to you. Shout out to the chat. Shout out to the SV Nation. We have a whole lot to talk about. Knicks and NBA rumors and trades that just went down. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing pretty good as can be. Trying to get through this little cold spell we got going, but hopefully the Knicks can win and warm me up a little bit. But we'll figure it out on this end. Just want to give a shout out to everybody in chat. Thank you guys for tuning in. We got Splash 1976. Appreciate you for tuning in. MH, thank you. Geraldine MacGyver, First Lady of Sports Vibes TV. Thank you for tuning in. We appreciate the support. We've already got 22 in chat, so can you guys do us a solid? Smash that like button and let's get this live stream off to a good start. So, Foxy, we got a lot to talk about since the last time we were doing this. But before we dive in, let's talk a little bit about the game last night. Unfortunately, the Knicks fell to the Los Angeles Clippers 134 to 128. Any major takeaways from the game last night?
They should change the name from the Knickerbockers to the Heartbreakers. I mean, it's such drama, this team, that we're like, oh my God, Grimes hits it. We're up. Oh my God, we're going to, oh, he puts that ball in, Brunson, and oh man, we're going to win this game. Oh God. And oh no, we lost. Ripping my heart out for the umpteenth time. So, yeah, it seems that we're incapable of getting a rebound in crunch time, game after game after game. It just breaks our heart. And Brunson came back from missing that game, played well statistically, shot 45% from three. We talked about on last week's stream, we have to up our foul shooting. We shot 76%. We did 20 for 26. Couple of more made, and maybe we wouldn't have had to go to overtime. So RJ Brick was back after 30, although the 30 points were all basically drives to the basket. I don't think he hit one jumper, literally, when he scored the 30 points 2 games ago. So minus 20. We talked about his defense. I don't know about you, but I saw some age there on Kawhi and on Paul George, man. He's always had a line drive shot, Kawhi, but doesn't have the burst anymore. When he goes up and it's hitting the front of the rim, but both of them toasted RJ. So anybody that says we don't need a 3 and D on this team and moving him to the 2 are crazy.
Yeah, definitely. RJ's defense in yesterday's game was definitely an issue. But like you said, they're heartbreaking to watch sometimes, man. You felt that they were putting together the momentum to take the lead, which they did late in that game. But once again, like you mentioned, unable to secure a rebound, and the ball was able to find Batum. iHeart didn't do a great job closing out and running him off the 3-point line, and he was able to nail that 3. And when we get into overtime situations, I believe we're what now 3 and 6 in OT. And with the way that Tibbs coaches his squad, it's really hard for us to have the energy and have that burst and that fight to really push through in those overtime minutes. So once we got to overtime, I knew we really didn't have a great chance. And then, of course, the refs didn't do us any favors either with the free throw discrepancy. I think basically the Clippers won off of free throws in that overtime session. They made more free throws than we made in points total in that extra
I know it was crazy. And we only put up a tiny amount of shots in the overtime. It was nuts, man. But they put up 19 in overtime.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so that's like, yo, you that's a whole lot of points, and like you said, most of them were from the foul line, though.
Yeah, so it was definitely a tough loss. I know some people said it was the worst loss this season. I wouldn't agree with that. I think we've definitely had some other stinkers, but it was demoralizing. I felt like we had that victory when we were coming back, roaring back. We were shutting down the Clippers, and when we needed it the most, we were unable to secure a rebound. And once again, that's been a story throughout the season.
Yeah, Julius played all the third. I think RJ played all the third. I think Brunson, other than a couple of seconds played, comes back to haunt you, especially if you go to overtime.
I think RJ to start the game played the entire first, and then didn't he play most of the second?
Yeah, just craziness, man. Just crazy.
On the first game of a back-to-back as well.
Yeah, I rounded off 44 freaking minutes, man. That's That's gonna, and like you said tonight, let's see what they got left, and especially Brunson coming back.
Facts, facts. Give a shout out to Delano. He's in chat. He says salute to everyone in chat. Salute to the bro Keys at Sports Vibes TV, and also a special salute to Foxy at Stephen Fox. Thank you for tuning in, DSJ. Appreciate you supporting the live stream. JJ says we never get the tough rebounds. Yeah, it's unfortunate, and we have solid rebounders. It's just in the moment they never step up. Well, in that moment, Quick wasn't in the game. I don't believe. I think it was Brunson, Grimes, RJ, Randall, and then iHeart. So Quick's rebounding wasn't in the game to be a factor, but Grimes is supposed to be a solid rebounder. Coming out of the draft, he was viewed as a solid rebounder. We already seen him mess up in pulling down a rebound. And RJ, he just hasn't been showing enough fight to get some of those tough rebounds. So it's been a struggle, especially with Mitchell Robinson out. And I mentioned that when he got hurt, we were going to really miss the things he can do out there on the court for us, and we're starting to see it during this little rough patch.
Absolutely. Hey, shout out to MH. He has a question for us in the chat that says, I heard the Knicks have to wait until summer to trade RJ. Can someone please explain? We technically we don't have to wait. It's called the poison pill, MH. So we could trade him now, but the team has to take, I think it's 26 and a half, something, I'll round it off, about 26 and a half, basically average of the new contract. So, they have to have that in their books, the team that you're trading him to. And that's only happened once in NBA history that someone that has signed that. So we have to wait until after July 1st for that poison pill to go away and that we could trade him. So hopefully that answers your question, MH.
Yep. So it's not that we can't trade him. It's just it's extremely difficult to trade him with the way that the cap is set up. So in this offseason, if they do decide to make a move, that's when you would most likely see a trade that involves RJ.
Mm-hmm. Mid-season, I was just going to say mid-season, it's hard to have 26.5 million of open cap space.
Yeah, right. It's crazy. Jesco says we should have filed Zubac. We definitely should have filed Zubac, and what was even more puzzling was to hear Tibbs's reasoning as to why they didn't file Zubac. It was basically, he said because the Clippers didn't call a timeout, he was unable to let the team know that they should file if they get a rebound. Well, following the previous timeout, that should have been discussed. If they do end up putting a shot up and they secure the rebound, what you should do at that point. And he said, quote unquote, the player should have known. And that because the Clips never turned their back to the basket, it never triggered anything in the squad to try and foul them. And they didn't want to foul on a 3-point attempt. So
I'm surprised Tibbs didn't use his canned answer for losses. I have to watch the film.
Right? Why did you foul? I got to see what the film says.
I got to see what the film says.
To me, it's crazy to hear him say he has to wait and see what the film says to have a response, because you're out there live and you have to make a decision. You can't wait to see the film to make a decision. So in that moment, we need you to be able to react. And if he can't even answer a question in the post game, how's he supposed to be making changes in the flow of the game?
Word.
Let's see what else we got. Kaiser Souza says Kyrie's about to get that no state tax money in Dallas and get to the playoffs with Luka every year. That's if they're able to, negotiate on a long-term extension. Reports are not too many teams are willing to give him the max, and it seems like Kyrie wants the max. So it's gonna fall down to whether or not they can find a middle ground on a new contract extension.
Yeah, and we'll go over that in a second, Kaiser, but that's a real dangerous contract, and also there's nothing guaranteed, man. They gave up. We keep talking about having a 6'8" 3-and-D on this team. They gave up their only 3-and-D in that trade. So who's going to be, Josh Green on that team, 6'5"? Who the hell is going to guard people?
Let's see what else we got going on in chat. Craig says, I love RJ, would only trade him for KD. I'm still a big fan of RJ, but he's got to step up, man. This is year 4, and we still see major inconsistency in his play. The defense has definitely regressed this season. The jump shot, even though he did have a poor shooting night, but the jump shot, it seems like he's starting to figure it out, but still, again, not too much consistency between game to game. So definitely, he has to figure it out here in year 4. We've got into a reasonable signed contract. And if a deal presents itself in the offseason that really makes us better, I would not be surprised if the Knicks include RJ in the deal. We already saw they were willing to include him in the Donovan Mitchell deal. So this offseason is going to be a big question as to what they're going to do with RJ long term, whether they're going to trade him or they're going to keep him and continue to try to build with him in mind.
Yeah, he's definitely figuring out that 3-pointer. He's 1 for 13 in the last 2 games.
He's definitely hit a rough patch, but for the season, he's gotten better. He's definitely gotten
I
better.
know, but it's what we said. You're in the fourth season in the preseason when we talked about the upcoming season. Keith and I said, fourth season we want consistency. We don't want 60% one month, 30% or 25 the next. And he's been totally inconsistent.
Yep. JJ says Mavs getting Kyrie's bad news for the Knicks pick from the Mavs. Yep, we'll definitely get into it. We'll look at where the teams are positioned at the moment and see how or what type of implications it can mean for us because we currently hold the Mavs 23 pick, and I believe it's top 10 protected. And with this trade for Kyrie, I think that's pretty much out the window. They're definitely not going to be a top 10 draft pick. Let's see what else we got going on. All right, we do have some congratulations to pass about.
I hear a buzzing.
Yeah, somebody's decided to call me at the wrong time.
You're a very popular guy. I can totally understand it.
I don't know about all that. One of the people that usually call me at work. All right. So we have some congratulations to give to Julius Randle. He has been selected as an NBA All-Star Game reserve. So kudos to him. It's well deserved. He's definitely been busting his ass this season, working to try and get better off of what could be called a down season last year. And also, I like some of the things that he said. You know, he had a conversation with Johnny Bryant talking about being a better teammate. So you like to hear some of those things, especially from a guy who's been able to turn it around. And if we're going to try and get deep into the playoffs and actually make a run, we're going to need Julius Randle firing on all cylinders. So shout out to Julius Randle for the All-Star selection. This is definitely major, you know, a two-time All-Star now. Pretty much shows that the first time was not just a fluke. So, you know, kudos to him. Anything you want to add, Foxy?
Yeah, I was super impressed, and also his comments about Jalen, that the only thing that's, you know, that would have made the whole thing better if it was Jalen was joining him. So he said all the right things, and as we said in the last several streams, monster. He's having a monster year. So I'm very happy for him, his family, his kids. So shout out to Julius, man. He deserves the flowers. He's worked awful hard for them.
Well, Jalen Brunson may still join.
I agree.
There's some injury selections, and we got to figure out what's going to happen now with Kyrie, because Kyrie's been traded from an Eastern Conference team to a Western Conference team. And off the top of my head, I can't really think of too many scenarios in which that happened and how they dealt with it in the All-Star game. So I guess it doesn't make that much of a difference now with them drafting people, right? It's not like it's East versus West anymore. So
that's true. That's true.
Nah, All-Star game ain't what it used to be, bro.
It's not. It's terrible. It's terrible.
I won't go that far, but it's definitely not what it used to be. It doesn't pick up until the end of the game.
Well, it's like and one is better, I think. And you know, it's like, you know, they're not, you know, they're playing around, you know, dunks off the backboard. You know, I'd rather they change the format where it could be some real money for me, so they play real serious.
Yeah, well, they're trying to do that with this mid-season tournament they're going to end up implementing. So we'll see how that goes. All right. Also, more congratulations in order this time to Quentin Grimes. He's been selected to the Rising Stars game. So kudos to him. He's definitely been solid in moments this season. So it's well deserved. I want to see him in the 3-point contest one day. You got to start knocking the three down more efficiently and you know, consistently. But with his form and his stroke, I think he'd be a solid 3-point participant.
Yeah, God willing, we'll see him in the next few years.
Yeah, fingers crossed. I'm shocked that we didn't get Sims in the dunk contest. They decided to go another route.
Yeah, that would have been enjoyable. That could have been crazy. Back-to-back champions, Obi and Sims.
Yeah, the only thing with Sims, I don't know if he has he's more of a creative dunker that would flourish in the dunk contest. He has the hops, but you know, I really haven't seen too much of the tricks or whatnot. More like a power dunker.
He's one of those guys that need one of his teammates to give him a bounce pass while he's jumping up. So I can't see him, like you said, doing it himself. So, but yeah, he can get up there. That's for sure.
Facts. Let's see what else we got going on. Kevin Middleton says, does Kyrie replace Curry and Brunson replace Kyrie, or does Fox replace Curry, who's out 6 to 8 weeks? Yeah, Curry dealing with a leg injury. They didn't specify in the tweet that I saw. They just said it was a lower leg injury or something like that, and he'll be out until March.
Hey, Kevin, thank
Or
you
was it May?
for thinking that I could replace Curry. I really appreciate it.
Oh, somebody
Uh,
said you can go out there and drop threes.
no, he says, or
Oh,
Fox replaced Curry, who's out 6 to 8 weeks. So, Kevin, you're really cool. Shout out to you. I appreciate you thinking of me that way. But my game's not the same as it used to be, so I have to be humble.
I hear you on that one. Greg Release says Dolan isn't so much the issue. Tibbs is killing his team. Facts. Yeah, Dolan, went on a media tour and he said he's hands off. He's letting Leon Rose and he's letting Thibodeau
And
do
I'm
what they
happy
need
with
to
him.
do. Yeah, right. So I wouldn't blame Dolan as the issue. I think Tibbs is definitely the issue. He doesn't match up with the opposing team. He doesn't make any adjustments out there on the court. He's playing our guys into the ground. He's getting into vendettas with players, which we'll discuss, more in depth as we go on in the show. But to me, I think Tibbs is definitely the biggest issue when it comes to this team. If we were to move on from Tibbs and give a guy like Johnny Bryant the reins, then I think you would definitely see some major changes on this squad. But the thing is, it's going to be hard to move on from Tibbs when the biggest piece on this team defensively, and Mitchell Robinson, isn't available. So I don't see us moving on from Tom Thibodeau until at least Mitchell Robinson returns, and we'll see if we're still plagued with some of these issues that have arisen during his absence.
Yeah. Our mediocrity is saving his job. Every time you think we're going to lose 7 in a row, we win 5, 4, we lose 4, we win 3, we lose 3. So we those little win streaks keep saving his freaking job.
Yeah, it's crazy. Definitely crazy. We currently got 110 in chat, but we only got 30 likes. Do us a solid, man. Smash that like button. Will definitely help the channel. Also, if you're not subscribed and it's your first time here, make sure you let us know in chat and subscribe and have notifications set to all. That way you're notified whenever we do go live. And we normally go live 6 p.m. on Sundays, but because we have a game today, we're live here at 4:30. So just wanted to let you guys know.
Yeah, big shout out to our LA brother, Big Chino. Hope all is well. Having a forbidden Skittles day. I hope you're having a tasty day yourself.
Forbidden Skittles. All right, so now let's jump into the actual Kyrie trade and look into the details. So here we have this post from Brian Lewis from the Post. It says the Kyrie Irving melodrama is finally over. The Nets trading the talented but troublesome star to Dallas. Brooklyn will bring back former Nets fan favorite Spencer Dinwiddie, as well as Dorian Finney-Smith, an unprotected 2029 first-round selection, as well as a 2027 and 2029 second-round picks. The news was first reported by The Athletic and Shams, and it was confirmed by the Post. Now, of course, the Nets are quote unquote our crosstown rival. But what really is important is the fact that we own the Mavericks pick for the 2023 draft. So now with the inclusion of a guy like Kyrie, it can definitely change the trajectory of the Mavs and also change the trajectory of where we would pick if we receive their pick. Now, I mentioned earlier that the pick was top 10 protected, and you can see right now we both have the same record, the Knicks and the Mavs, and we would be right at the 18th spot if they were to do a lottery now. So, Foxy, where do you see this pick going? Do you think there's any chance that the Mavs could get a guy like Kyrie and pair him with Luka and find a way to still struggle?
The whole trade is crazy. Like I said, we said off that they're renting him for half a year. He's an unrestricted free agent, folks. Kyrie at the end of the season, if he walks, they gave up all those guys, and then you're jeopardizing losing Luka because Luka's going to get all upset and stuff. Now, what did you leave me with? Kyrie's gone, Spencer's gone, Finney-Smith is gone. You took a 29, so. That and also what I said earlier, folks. Defense wins championships. You just took your one of your only 6'8" guys off their front line. So Powell and like I said, Josh Green is 6'5". So it's a very dangerous move. But Kyrie is all world. You saw how far they went with Jalen next to Luka. So now you take a player that's many levels above Jalen, but let's see. They're both ball hogs, so let's see how Luca and Kyrie could coexist. But
And
it's
Foxy, I'd have to argue with you a little bit. He's a level above Brunson, but I wouldn't say many levels. I don't know
when
if it's floral, especially with the way Brunson's been balling this season.
I know. Well, I think when Kyrie's on his game, he's a superstar, and I look at Brunson as an all-star this year, even if he doesn't make it. But I do think there is a galaxy between them.
I hear you on that one. I hear you on that one. So where do you think the Mavs could fall now, and where could this pick end up? Because I expect them to make a nice little run. I know there may be some issues defensively, but with two guys of that caliber, especially in the West, where if you were to put us in the West, we'd be in a much better position. I can see the Mavericks making a nice little run.
I do too, and I see the pick turning into a late 20s first round pick.
Yeah. Gregory Weiner says, I feel it's an ill fit. Definitely not an ideal fit, especially with a guy like Luca who's ball dominant, and you're pairing him with another guy like Kyrie who's going to want the ball in his hands a lot. But we saw that they were able to work with, Luca and Brunson. And Foxy, as you said, Kyrie is a better version. So I think they can definitely at least get as far as they got um, with Jalen when he was there. It all depends on the matchups, of course, and the playoffs. But I think pure talent, they'll be able to match up with a lot of the teams out there in the West.
Offensively,
Offensively. Thank you for the correction.
just meaning defense. I think they're going to have some issues.
Yeah, they got to get cooked. They're definitely gonna get cooked that time. They've traded their best defensive player out there on the perimeter, and Finney Smith. But hopefully,
And
fingers crossed they struggle, because the worse they do, the better we get come draft time. So
exactly.
that's what I'm hoping happens.
And it couldn't happen to a nicer guy. If they struggled or he pulls a hammy, Kyrie, all world on the court and a piece of shit off the court, in the locker room. So, he did it up in Boston when you're like saying, God, look at the nucleus that he has with Jalen and Tatum and everything. You walk away from that. Oh my God, you guys could have a dynasty. Goes to the Nets, all the stuff with vaccination last year. Where he goes, drama follows. So I hope Dallas is ready for the drama.
Yep. All right. So let's move into some other Knicks related topics. Let's talk about RJ. We mentioned him a little bit earlier in the show, but there was some concern between RJ and his feelings with Tom Thibodeau and the rest of the coaching staff. As you can see, uh, from this post from SNY Knicks, it says Tom Thibodeau was asked about RJ's benching versus the Lakers on Tuesday to close out the game. It says, we know he's a critical part of our team. We need him to play well, but we're always going to put the team first. We thought the group that was out there gave us the best shot. And there was a lot of speculation that RJ Barrett was upset because after the benching, they wanted him to talk to the media. And he said, wasn't a good idea. So that let a whole lot of speculation to swirl, and this is the response we got from Tibbs. And me personally, I think this is a bold-faced lie, but we're always going to put the team first. That's not true one bit, especially coming from a guy like Tom Thibodeau. He's going to put what he wants first, and if it's the best for the team or not, it really doesn't factor into the equation. But RJ was struggling in the game, and we probably could have used him in that overtime period to kind of help some scoring out there. So Foxy, how did you feel about the benching, and did you think that RJ handled it the right way by not saying anything to the media?
I want Tibbs out of here for 2 years now. This is one of the only times I've agreed with Tibbs. You watched him on defense. It's, and also passes. How many feeble, half-ass passes has he's made over the last 3, 4, 5 games, RJ? So I agreed. And I thought his attitude, I liked him coming back and scoring 30, showing that, but I didn't like the diva little attitude. I ain't going to speak today. The only thing that he could do is be a professional. In these cases, what would Jalen Brunson do? Jalen would say, I'm going to work hard and come back better. He didn't do that, but he's a very aloof dude, RJ. And, but I thought Tibbs did the right thing. I stopped, rewind. watch, stop, rewind, and I'm like, God, this guy RJ is not even trying. He can't get around a screen. He is slow as a sloth, and they were right. You put in, and also the ball movement on several of the things when when the Knicks made runs, RJ was on the bench. So I think that IQ, working with Brunson, that's a chemistry coming together. I think they're a better team with. I think RJ would be better on the second team away from Randall, and so the reality is RJ's getting his money and he's acting like he got it.
Yeah, Hanan himself also he brought the idea of potentially moving RJ to the bench and inserting Emmanuel quickly into the starting lineup. Me personally, I'm not 100% there. I think offensively, RJ has been inconsistent, but that he can figure out. It's a defense that's concerning. Especially when a year or two ago he was saying he wanted to be defensive. All NBA defense. So now to see the way he's been defending, I think has definitely been, worrisome because you look at a guy like Jalen Brunson who isn't great defensively, but it's not an effort thing. Well, with him, at least he's out there trying and he's doing things out there, creating charges and things like that. So he's helping you other places defensively. But with RJ, sometimes he's matched up with some pretty elite scorers and he's offering little to no resistance. So to me, that's extremely troublesome. And I think the benching for some period was warranted against the Lakers, but I think towards the end of that game, we probably should have brought him back in just to see what he can do. If he at least could have, helped us a little bit more, especially to try and get that victory, knowing that our guys was gassed and he had some fresh legs. So it's unfortunate that that's the way it went. But what I would think is, that might expedite Cam getting moved a little bit quicker because if RJ's feeling a little bit disgruntled when it comes to Tom Thibodeau, and we've also seen some videos and some highlights of him kind of cracking jokes on Tom Thibodeau potentially benching players and things like that. If RJ's feeling that way, and you've got Cam who we know feels that way, then that kind of gives RJ an echo chamber, and that can kind of make things spiral out of control. So I can pretty much, I'm pretty sure they're gonna move off of Cam by the deadline, especially if RJ's starting to beef a little bit with Tibbs. They don't want to have too many people that have problems with Tibbs in that locker room. We already got Cam, who's somewhat disgruntled, Fournier, who's been acting like a professional, but some of the things he's stated, he's a little bit disgruntled. And Rose, you don't have to worry about Rose. He's the consummate professional. But you already got a few pieces in that locker room where if the front office kind of wants to keep things calm, they may end up moving off of some of these guys a lot sooner than we expected.
You just need a losing streak for it to blow.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm with you, and it's funny when he had the 30-point game. RJ on a timeout, he walked over and he put his hand to his mouth and he said something to Cam, and they both laughed. So it's like, yo, they had a private little laugh. I wonder what he's saying, but
Yeah.
but like you said, one thing is getting your message across by benching, but then like you have it up there, it gives us the best shot to win. And the reality is RJ gives us our best shot to win. So get your message across and then get him in there in the overtime for us to win this game. But he didn't want to do that. And we saw what happened.
So we mentioned Cam, and there's also some reports that there was issues with Cam and Tibbs, and that's what led to Cam's benching and being sent to the gulag. Apparently, Cam felt he wasn't being used properly, so he relayed that information to an assistant coach. Assistant coach then told Tibbs, and from that moment on, we have not seen Cam out there getting any minutes for our New York Knicks. Now, this to me, I think is ridiculous, especially when you start to look at some of the players that the Knicks have targeted in the trade market, because we're looking for a 3-and-D wing. And, of course, Cam, he has his issues, but he fits the prototypical 3-and-D wing that this team so desperately needs. He has the size, 6'8", has the wingspan, has the athleticism to stay in front of some of the quicker players, and has the length to kind of bother some of the taller players. So for us to not be able to utilize him, especially in games where we had Jalen Brunson injured, we had RJ Barrett out, we had Obi Toppin out. For this team, or for this coach, to not find a way to use him when we were short bodies, I think it was just ridiculous. And to me, it's a terminatable offense, because you're jeopardizing the health of some of these guys just because a player came up to you and told you that he felt he could have been used a little bit differently. So instead of talking to the player, trying to find some common ground, you decide to banish him to the end of the bench. To me, it's ridiculous, and to me, it shows why Tom Thibodeau isn't a coach for the modern NBA, because you have to find ways to work with your players and not try to fit everything into your quote unquote system or your scheme. So to me, I think it just shows why Tom Thibodeau is not the guy to be the head coach here at the New York Knicks.
Yeah. Hey, we're Bronx boys, so we were upset the way he treated Kemba last year. He treated him like shit, and now he comes back with Cam, and hey, let Cam lose it on the court, meaning that he's inconsistent and stuff. But you gave him burn, you gave him 30 minutes for 25 games, and it just didn't work out. Then I think everybody could do it, but yeah, but it's aggravating. But I think we have a game out of this coming out of this, or at least the poll for our chat is because Cam and I are fine. I don't know where that's coming from, but I have an idea. So, folks, who's the snitch? Who's the assistant coach snitch? Is it Dice? Is it Andy Greer? Is it Johnny Bryant? So, name that snitch is our new game show, folks.
I wouldn't be shocked if it was Brunson. Maybe he told Brunson, because they work out together, they have that relationship, and he probably wanted to see if he can kind of smooth things out and get a better role for Cam, and then Tibbs kind of went left with it. That's my guess. Yeah, I don't know who else would he have that type of relationship with on the coaching staff to disclose that information and for them to then take it to Tibbs.
Yeah, I know, but that comment about, but I have an idea. Yo, there's going to be some retribution there. Vendetta, revenge.
Right.
So, but hey, if I was an assistant coach and what we had on the previous slide that you're trying to do what's best for the team, and you say, hey, Cam came to me and he pulls that shit. Either you call him, like either you quit, either you go over to Leon, or you drop you leak a goddamn story that this is a piece of shit coach, man. I go to him about bettering the team, and like Cam really wants to do this, and you're going to take it out on that guy this way. You banish him to exile him to Siberia for no freaking reason. That this is not 1950s basketball, man. This is 2023, his time is coming. He has a dated style. You can't do that. It's not right to the team. It's not right for the young man, and it's not right for the coach.
Yep, and we can legitimately use him. It's not like he's at a position where we have a plethora of guys to insert. There's nobody else that has the same size or length or athletic ability that Cam has at that position. Maybe Obi has the hops and whatnot, but he doesn't have the lateral movement or anything like that to stick in front of guys out there on the perimeter. And we've been getting cooked left, right, and center by either big guards or elite wings, and we have an answer to put on them. But Tibbs, for some reason, he's trying to prove his point or whatever the case may be. Maybe he's saying, look, the front office never spoke with me when they went out there and brought Cam to this team. So I'm going to show them that, look, we didn't need him. We can win without him. And unfortunately, it puts Cam in a bad spot, especially in a contract season. And I think players around the league are probably noticing this situation and saying, hey, that's not right. That's not a right way to treat Cam, and could potentially try to avoid the Knicks and playing for a guy like Tom Thibodeau if that's how he acts.
Yeah, we brought up stuff from history, folks, of history repeating itself with Tom from his Minnesota days and stuff like that. They're old articles from literally 3 years ago where players in the league say, what coach would you not want to play for? And the players all said Thibodeau. And that's 3 years ago, 4 years ago, before he got hired. So it's like, yeah, like they're doing their homework and saying, yo, we're trying to change the culture, trying to make this a place where players want to come both in trades and free agent, and you're bringing a guy that everyone dreads. Richard Jefferson said on a national telecast last year that Thibodeau is the worst coach for young players. If you're in a development cycle as a team, you don't want Tibbs as your coach. So it's lunacy, man.
Yeah, it's nuts. I want to give a shout out to Paris Duggar with the $2 super chat. He says, salute, 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 fellas. Thank you for tuning in and supporting this live stream. We really do appreciate it.
Hi, Paris. Hope all is well with you and your family. As always, thanks for your generosity. And he's a day one supporter. We love you, man.
Yep. Leon Mitchell says, this is why the Nick of Time podcast calls Tibbs Petty LaBelle. That's a good one. Salute to them.
On my own.
Better you sing than me, Foxy.
Yeah, it's the Forbidden Skittles speaking. And a little apple pie moonshine.
I hear you. So, all right, I'm going to close the chat. We asked who told on Cam. Right now, Brunson is leading with 31% of the vote. You guys continue to vote, and we'll wrap it up and see who ends up winning. Dwayne Dennis says Tibbs is not a manager, coach. He's not a developer of young talent.
Yeah, you know who I think told on Cam? I think it's Jay Boogie. I really think Jay Boogie's the one that did it and got into Tibbs' ear, and I think all the problems. So Jay Boogie's, I think, the problem behind this, man.
You think so?
Well, usually when in doubt, blame Jay Boogie. Shout out to Jay Boogie, man. Hope all is well, my friend. Just goofing.
YouTube clip says we needed Kyrie or KD. This team blows the way it's constructed. I think we needed a player of their caliber, but not Kyrie himself, because too much drama associated with that guy. And things were getting out of control in Brooklyn. Imagine if he was here with the New York Knicks, everything would have been magnified 2 to 3 times more. And I think, you can't deny the talent, but you don't necessarily know if he's committed long-term to your organization. And right now, we're not in a position where we can do too many short-term commitments and invest the type of assets that it would have needed to bring him over here. So me personally, I don't think it was a direction we should have went as the New York Knicks.
Well, they were just marketing guys or agents, so they wanted the fanfare. Or look who we brought to this team, but you saw they haven't done anything for the Nets title hopes.
And not one bit. All right, let's close the poll and see what's going on. So who told on Cam? We got 40% say Brunson, 25% say it was Dice, 18% say it was Johnny Bryant, and then we have 15% that say it was Greer. And Greer has the track history, right? Because isn't he the one that told on Mark Jackson over in Golden State?
I think you're right. Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's the one he was the whistleblower.
Yeah.
He's also only the one that's he was the only one that was in Tibbs' camp, or was a Tibbs hire when they initially brought the coaching staff over. But now the only non-Tibbs hire is Johnny Bryant. It's kind of a lonely coaching room for him right now.
It is. It is.
All right, so let's move on to the next slide. All right, so let's get into some of the team rankings. So right now,
and Racer X speed racer around the corner.
I was like, what's going on? I'm like, what's that sound? I thought he was going to drive up to the crib. All right, so team rankings right now, where the Knicks are set up, they're 7th in the league in offensive rating at 116.1, 17th in the league in defensive rating at 114.5, 9th in the league at net rating at positive 1.6, and our offensive effective field goal percent is 52.6, which is bad enough for 25th in the league, and our defensive effective field goal percentage is 52.9, which is good enough for 5th in the league, and our pace once again towards the bottom of the league at 96.9, and you can see we're trending downwards in both offensive rating, defensive rating, and also pace.
Yes. So again, folks, shout out to Shimmy MD. We incorporated a new trend analysis on this chart. So from the last time, you could see whether we're trending down. The straight line means it's the same as last show, or down. So thanks again, Shimmy, and And just SV Nation, we love your input so we can make it much more intuitive, the stuff that we work on for you.
Yep. You always let us know your suggestions, and we will try to implement them into the show. Like we say, you guys are the third co-host, so you guys help drive the show and help drive the direction of the show. So once again, all suggestions are welcome. Just let us know either in the chat or in the comment if you're part of the replay section, part of the replay gang, and then we'll review it. And if we agree, we'll add it to the show. Let's see. Adele Chapman, thank you for tuning in. He says, let's get some more likes, fellas. Yep, we have 166 in chat. Only got 59 likes. Do us a solid. Smash that like button. It doesn't cost you much more than a second of your time. So just do us a solid. Smash that like button. It definitely help with the live stream and also the channel.
Hi, Adele. Hope all is well with you and the family. Man, look at that beautiful little Avery and it's just beautiful family. Hope all is well. Shout out to Sherwin, Westchester's finest. Hope all is well, Sherwin, with you and your family.
All right, let's get to the next slide. Here we have the per game totals. We're 16th in the league, averaging 114.5 points per game. Still third in the league, averaging 47.2 rebounds per game. Assists down towards the bottom, 27th in the league, averaging 22.7 assists per game. Field goal percentage, we're shooting 45.9% from the field, which is bad enough for 25th in the league. 3-point percentage is 34.4%, which is 23rd in the league. And then our free throw percentage, we're at 77.5, which puts us as 19th in the league.
Yep. Hey, we had 30 assists yesterday. Thought, it took an overtime, but we got up to 30 assists. So that was pretty nice.
Yeah. That offensive efficiency rating is RJ taking 17, making 6.
Shout out Trish, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, he was even worse yesterday, right?
Yeah.
Brutal. You got to figure it out, man. If this team is going to take off and start to become a legitimate contender, we're either going to need RJ to take off or we're going to have to dangle RJ in a deal to get a true number one to play beside Brunson and Randall if we don't trade him as well.
With you, somebody that can play defense.
Yes, correct. All right, let's look at what these guys have been doing so far this season. Points per game. We've been talking about RJ, but scoring wise, he has eclipsed the 20 points per game mark, as well as Julius Randle and Jalen Brunson. So again, we've got 3 guys averaging over 20 points per game this season. You look at some of the efficiency numbers. For the most part, these guys have been pretty efficient outside of RJ, who's gotten somewhat better. He's shooting 43.3% from the field. You look at Jalen Brunson shooting 47.4% from the field. Grimes, 45.2% from the field. And then you got Julius Randle shooting 45.9% from the field. Jericho Sims, his shooting percentage, of course, is going to be ridiculous, seeing that most of those are dunks. He's shooting 80.5% from the field.
I think he had a spurt of like 15, 16 straight baskets a few games ago. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Any stat pops out to you, Foxy?
Just like you said, hitting that metric of 20 points a game, having 3 guys, it's really impressive. RJ, we just talked about the last 2 on the 3, so that 32.7 from 3. We need him to get up to that, at least league average, 35, 36%, but we want that from his second year with that 40% again, man. That's everything. That'll change his game because he hits 40%. People, then he's going to be able to drive by him, but they're just going under the screen right now. And Quentin, that 2.1 assist, that game, that assist the other game to Hartenstein was stunning, man. That was beautiful. He's hitting some big shots the last few games, getting to his rhythm. Want him? We definitely think he's a 40% sharpshooter from 3, so we'd like him to bring that up a touch. Jalen seems to, obviously that he's up past that 40% now on 3, so he's a blink away from the 50-40-90 gold standard. But that 2.1 turnovers seems to have a couple more turnovers recently, but that could also be from exhaustion.
Yeah.
Our Julius, all-star, man. Again, the flowers. The only thing is that 74.9. It's the league average is 78% from the line. RJ's below that too, but I didn't want to have too much because then I get the RJ hate. Why do you have all the? Why are you hitting on RJ? So I'll only do that. But yeah, so hopefully they bring that up. And again, when you have our team and we're going against better teams, we can't lose it at the line, folks. And also from a development standpoint, I look for things for developing. Hey, Jericho's shooting 80% from the line, doesn't get there often, but we've seen Mitch and we've seen a couple other guys. So I like that that he's upped his game from 80%. It gives us some hope maybe in the next couple of years that he could bring something else, maybe a little midi, a pick and pop or something to his offensive game. But, shout out to him for working on his game that way.
Yeah, we need Sims to have some sort of a midi because then that way we can play him more at the 4 if he can start to shoot a little bit more. Yeah, because even at the center, he looks pretty small. There were times where LeBron James was driving, went right into his chest, and he just moved him right out the equation. Now, of course, LeBron is a special subject in terms of his physicality and what he can do out there. But you just look at Jericho Sims and his size compared to some of the other bigger players, and he might be better versed at the 4 if he could start to shoot and become more of a factor in that regards.
6'9", I'll round it off 6'10". That yeah, you're 100% right. He's more of an old school 4 size than he is really a 5.
A 5, yep. And then again, you've got Bam who cooks us and who's about the same size.
But you know what? I think that's a phenomenal point that when he goes up against an agile guy like that, it's different. He's great against, older school 5s, but when he goes against an agile Bam, he got cooked easy.
Jesco has a suggestion. He says, what do you think about a trade deadline stream? Foxy, what do you think? You want to, that's what, Thursday, right? The 9th?
Yeah, I'm down for anything. I'm easy. So if the biggest thing is, my nephew here, if his schedule allows it, he's the busiest guy I know, Keith. So if his schedule's good, I'm always down with him.
Well, yeah, I could probably take the day off because I think Harry Potter drops that around that time too. So
Harry Potter.
Yeah, man. Coming out for the P5, so I got to count that.
Yo, you just lost your street cred. I'm thinking about Equalizer Part 3 coming out in September. My wife said, "What have you been?" I've been watching, I don't know, Stars, whatever. They've been showing Equalizer and Equalizer Part 2 about 40 times a day. So every time my wife goes in there, "Are you watching that stupid movie again?" I said, "I love Denzel. Watch him cut this dude's throat. Isn't it beautiful?"
Equalizer. I'm shocked he's doing so many sequels because he was never a guy that did sequels.
Yeah, money talks. True, and I love the movies. I think they're good flicks, man.
Definitely good movie. So yeah, we'll do a trade deadline live stream. We'll coordinate on the time. I'll put the time in, and get it free. All right, let's move on to the bench squad now. All right, so we've got Deuce, who actually has been knocking down his shot a little bit more consistently. That's definitely a nice sign. We get some more threes from Deuce. I can start calling him Deuce Trey.
I was about to say, people like, yo, why do you have the green on 28.1? Well, it was 19% a week and 2 weeks. It was 2 weeks ago, folks. So going from 19% to 28, yo, I'm up, so Deuce and obviously his defense. So I'm happy for him. Hey, he hit a sweet little midi, a la, his West Virginia days. Elbow? Yeah, so he's getting a little comfortable now where he's moving, faking one way, going across the lane with that little. So, Deuce, keep it going. And his D, like we know, is all world. You got to pick it up. He's only shot 24 times. My memory serves me right from the foul line. So it's still a small sample, but it should be better than 67%. I'll round it off. So, but Deuce is he's starting to get comfortable. So I'm really looking forward to this last stretch for him. Really, putting it together.
Yeah, you can see him getting a little bit more comfortable out there on the court. He's doing a little bit more with the ball in his hands. He's taking some better shots. He's creating some more off the dribble for himself and for others. I forgot which game it was, but he was able to almost make somebody fall, get into the paint, and kick it out for a nice shot. You remember who we were going up against when he did that?
No, but I remember the play that you're talking about. So I'll, SV Nation, if you can help him, but absolutely. And I saw him look off IQ and say, nah, man, I ain't your bitch anymore. I'm going to start being a little more.
I'm going to do me right now.
I'm going to be doing me now. So, but I like that. I like that, man.
Yeah, I Heart. He's definitely been playing better as of late. I mean, we in the offseason we talked about what he could do for this team, and could potentially be a guy that can step up as a closer from what he can do offensively and also defensively. And now we're starting to see that with Mitch out. Sims is starting, but for the majority of these games, we're seeing I Heart close. And he still can't catch the ball at times, but you're seeing the passing. You're seeing him being able to you know cut to the basket, roll, be available when guys like Jalen Brunson get into the paint. He's capitalized a few times when teams have collapsed to try and stop Jalen Brunson from penetrating and left him wide open, especially in the clutch moments. He's been able to get a couple dunks for us and make some big stops defensively. So iHeart is starting to earn that paycheck as the backup center a little bit more.
I agree with you, and we have the assist in red. It's less than one, and it's like we've seen the skill set there. But I'm going to put that on Tibbs. Put him in the pinch post. At least run a few plays a game where he's gonna, he has those passing skills. We've seen him on rebounds have long passes and to get the team in transition going. Yeah, I want to see more of that, but I think sometimes he may be curtailed, concerned about Tibbs. So yeah, I'm seeing some stuff, but let it rip. I heart let it rip, man.
And Obi, still not getting the right
Obi,
about. we need Jay Boogie to call in and give us an Obi chant real quick.
Obi.
You still see Obi not getting the requisite minutes that he needs to develop, but he's starting to knock down the three a little bit more. You can see he's shooting 37.7% from the 3-point line. Needs to see him still get better defensively though, and a little bit more physical out there. And if he's able to up that defense, then it gives us a little bit more of an argument as to why Tibbs should try and put Randall and Obi out there together. I think this is the perfect time to try and see that pairing out there on the court with Mitch out of the equation.
Thought last night we should have went small ball actually.
Definitely, especially when they put Batum in, maybe get somebody else out there that can cover the perimeter, get and close out a little bit better than a guy like iHeart. But unfortunately, Tibbs is too rigid in his rotations, and he really isn't willing to try anything new.
I'm with you. I'm with you. And also, we've seen a couple little midi moves from Obi that were nice, but it's like, Jesus is never going to get the minutes to really show more than that because of Tibbs and this roster construction.
Yeah, we need a new coach to get an opportunity to play Obi a little bit under a new system, feature him a little bit more, especially with that second unit. There's no reason with that second unit we shouldn't see Obi featured. So, I mean, Tibbs is going above and beyond the Call of Duty, trying to get RJ to kind of cook with that second unit. But why don't we allow Quick and Obi to run a little bit more?
They got chemistry too.
Exactly. Run more plays for those two guys as opposed to trying to get RJ Barrett involved with the second unit and trying to force that on us.
Yeah, and on Quick, we have the 43. He's averaged 39% from a field goal from the floor the last 2 years. So we love seeing young players getting better. So that 43 and hopefully, that 34.80 is a blink away from league average. That by the time the season ends, he'll be over that. But we've talked about his last 20 games, solid as hell. He didn't look so great yesterday, but I think a lot of that also, his pairings. I always like him as the secondary playmaker. I don't like him at the point. I like him playmaking in the two position off ball.
So that way he can be a little bit more score minded.
That and also I've just noticed his shooting. He shoots a whole lot better in catch and shoot, where he squares up. His form is better when he's off the dribble. His form gets messed up, and that's why the ball doesn't go in as well as then when he does a one dribble or a pure catch and shoot.
Yeah, I mean, Quick's a pretty polarizing player. I can see here in the chat, Jesco and Knicks 100 a game having a little back and forth conversation about his impact with the squad. I think Emmanuel Quickly is a very impactful player, and I think he's pretty much the heart of that second unit. So I would have to disagree with Knicks 100 a game.
He's a keeper in my book. He's absolutely a keeper. And as we said last stream and stuff, sometimes you got to take a step back when teams start asking. It's because they know. I absolutely see him part of a championship caliber team. IQ. We talked about Lou Williams, not necessarily a starter, maybe a starter, but definitely a second team, 6 man type of guy. I definitely see him as a coach in 20 years in this league. So I like quickly, and we've seen development. Hey, this year that 43%, folks. If you look at his rookie year, he had that one-handed floater. Now he has much more, when he comes to the paint, he stops and he goes up more classically with that guide hand on the ball. And that's a big difference in why that ball is going in a lot of and ones. So we're seeing these moves, going to the basket with his left hand. Obviously, we've seen the increase in defense. So from a development standpoint, Keese has brought up he's only under 4.2 million next year under contract. It'd be crazy for us to give him away, man. Where people like giving up for a first round pick for what? Let him cook for another year. And also because of this coach and the guys, if he can play one position and get some chemistry as the guys around him, I think he'll go to the next level. So, but I'm happy with Quickly. He's definitely a keeper in my book.
Yep. And the thing about it is, a lot of the times it's not also him scoring in bunches, but it's the time in which he hits those shots. It really is momentum swinging, either putting it in our favor or stopping another team that's trying to get a run established against us. So Emmanuel Quickly, I think, is definitely one of the building blocks of this squad. Still a debate as to whether or not he should be starting. But even if he's off the bench, he's at least one of the best 6 men in the league right now, I think, especially when he's firing on all cylinders. So Quick, definitely somebody that we should keep long term. And to hear him being mentioned in certain trade talks to me was ridiculous. The only way you do include him in some sort of trade is if he's helping to headline a deal to get you a top 10, top 15 player in the league, not to reset and get another first round pick for him.
Facts. You only give him up for an SGA. You don't give
Hmm.
him up for a draft pick. That's really malpractice in a front office. So, and also, I just think they're a better team. I think that Jalen. I think the team plays better with him than they play with RJ.
Yeah. And with Quick, he can play with both units. He can play with the starter and they don't
Totally.
skip a beat, and he can run the second unit and they don't skip a beat. So the fact that he can fit in a bunch of lineups, is one of the best perimeter defenders, can knock down the three, and can also create somewhat with him with the ball in his hands. I think it definitely shows how valuable he could be for this team, both offensively and defensively.
Yeah, and they mentioned it on the telecast yesterday. IQ and Grimes are vying for the top defender on this team statistically. RJ by far is the worst defender statistically. And they said it on the telecast. He's the worst defender on the Knicks. RJ. So from quickly, as an analyst looking for his development, further development, he has hit some really big shots for us this year. But what he hasn't hit is the dagger to win a game for us. So over the next season and stuff like that, the next level of development is, besides bringing us back in games and hitting huge shots, is hitting big shots that win the game for us. That's the next level for him to grow.
And I'm looking at this tweet from Knicks Muse. It's showing the Knicks plus minus leaders this season. Quickly is by far the has by far the best plus minus on his squad. Ooh, excuse me. He's plus 188, and then you got Mitchell Robinson following behind him at plus 138. And then you start to look at the bottom, the people who have the biggest minus of the squad. You got Jericho Sims, he's minus 71, and then RJ Barrett, who's minus 59. So the team not necessarily playing well with RJ when he's out there on the court, even though statistically, we put RJ stats back up. Statistically, he looks like he's been having a decent season, but the team's performance overall has not been great when he's out there on the court.
Yeah, nobody wants to hear that dirty little secret that statistically they're a better team with RJ not on the court, and they're a better team with IQ on the court.
Yeah. Let's see what else we got going on. Jesco says he's keeping our bench unit alive on offense. Facts, especially when things start to dry up, where Deuce is not hitting his shot, Obi's not hitting his shot. One person you can rely on for some offense is Emmanuel Quickly.
Absolutely.
All right, let's head over to the next slide now. Now let's get into some trades that have been discussed and how this team could get better as we try to make a push towards the playoff post All-Star break. This is from Knicks Muse. It says Bleacher Report predicts the Knicks to trade for OG Anunoby this trade deadline in exchange for two first, Obi Toppin, and Evan Fournier. Now, I did discuss a potential OG Anunoby trade because there were reports from Ian Bagley saying that the Knicks were in pursuit of OG to try to add him to the squad. And me, the only way I would go after a guy like OG is if we could do it for a reasonable deal, which would be, Obi, one unprotected first and one protected first. That's the only way you can get me at the negotiating table. Anything outside of that, I think, would be way too much to include for a guy like OG Ananobi. Foxy, what would your thoughts on this trade be if it were to go through?
Could you bring up his contract? OG's contract?
Yeah, give me 1 second.
Yeah, hey folks, this is the big thing. I don't know if anybody's really talked about this, but we put our GM hats on here. Um, we would trade all of these things. They had two first. All these players for a 1 year rental. This is a clutch guy, by the way. So, he has a player option in 24-25. So you basically going to give all those assets for a year and a half and have him potentially walk. Yo, that's a dangerous. We just talk about Kyrie that being dangerous. This is the same type of thing, folks. He is a player option in 24-25. So that's a dangerous move for us to make. Either we make this trade and he does a sign and trade where he signs an extension and then we have him under contract for X amount of years. But if we don't do that, clutch in 1 year, I could see him walking in a year and a half. And we gave up all those assets for nothing.
Yeah, Clutch is already not too fond of this front office, them being heavily CAA affiliated. Because one, you have the Cam Reddish situation. He's Clutch. They got him parked on the bench. You can't find a way to get him to a place that would play him. And two, if I'm not mistaken, there's still some bad feelings with the Nerlens Noel situation. With Nerlens Noel, he was with Clutch, and it seems like the front office kind of persuaded him to leave Clutch, sign with CAA, and then proceed to sue Clutch. So there's a little bit of beef, I think, brewing between Clutch and CAA. So with him being a Clutch client, that could complicate things if we do trade for him and try to extend him to a long-term deal. Also, you've got some of the injury history with OG. I think right now he's out due to an injury, which
Wrist.
of course is, not 100% confirmed because it seems like Nick Nurse doesn't understand why he won't be available for their away trip. But with that injury history, there's some more concern. But in terms of what he can do for a team, I think he can definitely help benefit this team out there on the wing. We've talked about how we need a guy that can fit alongside RJ. If we can move RJ back down to the two, and you look at OG, his length, the ability to knock down the three, and also some other things he can do out there on the court, he can definitely fit. My biggest concern with a guy like OG Anunoby is what role is he looking for? Why is he not happy in Toronto? I pulled up an excerpt from Knicks Nurse's, I don't know if it's a memoir, but a book he wrote following that championship run. And in it, you can see that OG was kind of looking for a larger role. He was unhappy that Fred VanVleet had the ball in his hands too much. So if we go and bring a guy like OG here, he's not going to supplant Jalen Brunson as the first option. He's not going to supplant Julius Randle as the second option. And if RJ is not in the deal, he may not even supplant him as the third option. So where is he going to get his touches? And if he's disgruntled in Toronto, I see him being similarly disgruntled here with the New York Knicks. So it would then put us in a situation where we may not be able to extend him because he wants a larger role. So me personally, I think that is why OG may not be the best fit here with the New York Knicks.
Yeah. Hey, shout out Keys, folks. If you haven't seen the stream that Keys did on OG, it was brilliant, and I don't think anybody did that excerpt like Keys. And one of the things that Keys talked about is that OG went to the coach Nurse and said to him that he keeps running over to me, Van Vliet, for the ball, and he said, "Well, that's what point guards do."
Mm-hmm.
And then he sees him a day or so later, and he just walks right by him. And as he's walking by him, he goes, "He's still doing it." Yo, that's an attitude. Is that what you want to bring here? And like Keith just said, you got I don't know if there are three guys in the league, one team in this league that have the usage of three guys, meaning RJ, Randall, and Brunson. I don't think there's any team that have three players with the usage as high as them. So he'd be totally unhappy if he's unhappy in Toronto, and clutching his ear. He'll be getting the hell out of here in a year and a half. And we talked about, especially a guy that's leading the league in steals, leading the league in deflections. His prototype 6'8" can hit the three. There'll be a lot of people vying for him. So, do we really want to get into a bidding war? No, man. Either sign and trade or forget the deal, man.
Yep. And then another player that's been rumored to the Knicks that fills a similar role would be Sadiq Bey, which I think is a nice option for the Knicks to pivot to. Because one, I think he'll be cheaper. And also, I think he won't need the ball in his hands as much or isn't looking for as large of a role as a guy like OG and Anobi. So, how would you feel about Sadiq Bey potentially being brought to the New York Knicks via trade?
A whole lot better than OG. I think that Sadiq is a lot better. Sometimes when you play on a team, especially the Detroit teams of the last few years, you can't show your real game. So I think he's a whole lot better. And folks, so we just go from 18 million and stuff like that now to 2.9 this year, 4.5, and then qualifying what? Yo, look at this. This is, OG obviously is a very good player, but it has to be about value. And he's younger, 2 years younger. Sadiq, Villanova, tough, bringing, join, coming back with Jalen. I'd love Sadiq on this team personally.
And
And
also,
I
he'd
think
be a restricted free agent too, so there's some certainty in bringing him back because then at least you can match any offer he gets in the free agency.
exactly. But you have a few years to see his chemistry, you see his growth. He has that wingspan, yeah. So I definitely think, we could watch him grow before our eyes, and he's in the right timeline age wise. And so yeah, I would definitely, and the cost would be minimal compared to what we'd have to give up for OG. And
What do you think?
also, we
Go
have
ahead.
a good relationship with Detroit in the
Yeah,
past of doing deals with them. So I think there's more.
that's the only team we trade with at this point is Detroit.
I know. So there is synergy there, man.
All right, so I'm putting a poll in the chat. I just wanted to know who you guys think we should go after, whether it should be OG Ananobi or Sadiq Bey. So I'll put that poll in chat, and I also have their stats for this season up as well, so you guys can review that while you make your decision.
Yeah.
You can
So
see
yeah,
right now OG has the edge in points per game, 16.9 compared to 15. We've got OG with the edge in rebounds per game as well, 5.5 to 4.6. OG again has the edge in assists per game, 2 to 1.6. Turnover, Sadiq has the bay. Sadiq has the bay. Sadiq has the edge
Sadiq has
in
the bay.
turnovers. In turnovers, 1.1 to 2.2. Steals is really where OG shines at 2.1 steals per game. But of course, Sadiq is no slouch as well. He averages one steal a game. Field goal percentage, OG has the edge in both field goal and 3-point percentage. Sadiq Bey has the edge in free throws and minutes per game. OG is leading there with 35.8 minutes
Six
per
more
game
minutes. Yep.
compared to Sadiq at 28.9. Sadiq has also played more games. Once again, OG is out as of right now due to an injury. And OG also has the much better defensive rating at 113 to 120.
And that could be a little misleading because of Siakam and the other guys surrounding him versus the
Yeah,
guys that are surrounding
I think
Sadiq.
Sadiq Bey, yeah, Sadiq is in a on a struggling team right now. If the season ended today, the Pistons would be in line for the second overall pick. So that shows you how much of a struggle they've had this season.
Yeah, but if you look at it and you extrapolate, you give 6 more minutes to Sadiq, he'll probably have the same numbers as OG
Yeah, it looks like
on the
one of
points, rebounds, and assists at least.
yeah, it looks like one of Sadiq's family members pulled up to kind of defend him as well. Cedric Bey, salute. Thank you for tuning in. What are the odds, right? Cedric Bey pulls up while we're talking about Sadiq Bey. So
Yeah,
I think OG is the better player, but Sadiq, Bay might be the better fit if you include what it would cost for us to acquire him.
Yeah. And as the great Ron Cleveland says, your greatest ability is your availability. OG's out with a wrist injury, and that's after he was out with an ankle injury, which was out after he had, this guy literally from eye orbital, his stock. He was drafted. He was talked about on the same level as Jason Tatum. He was in the Jason Tatum draft, folks, but he
Hmm.
blew out his ACL at Indiana, and that's why he dropped in the draft. So, but he's very Kyrie like that ever since college. He's continually injured.
Jesco salute. He says OG is way better on defense, and Sadiq's field goal percentage is pretty bad. So yeah, field goal percentage is an issue. But remember, again, Sadiq Bey is playing on a bad team, and I think a lot of nights they're out there just chucking up shots. So I think if you put Sadiq Bey in a more controlled environment and give him a system where he can fit in and find his shots that way, as opposed to trying to go one on one, go ISO, and try to create for himself, I think you'll definitely see an increase in his field goal deficiency.
Yeah, for some reason, my gut's telling me either Brunson or IQ will make him a little bit look a lot better than Killian Hayes.
Yeah, that's a fact.
And Jaden Ivey. That guy has all the speed in the world, but he's a nightmare as a point guard.
Hmm. Also, we've got 206 in chat, but we've only got 92 likes. We try to get to that 100 like
Please.
threshold. Do us a solid, smash that like button. Help us get us to that 100 threshold. We greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, and please, if you have subscribed, thank you so much. If you haven't, please, as we always talk about, it's the one-stop shop for all Knicks news, rumors, and analysis. If shout out to the replay gang if you can't catch it live. We love chopping it up. We had a lot of comments last week that Keith and I answered, so thank you so much. Keep those coming. And as always, please turn on that all reminder bell so you don't miss out on any of the wonderful content. And shout out to the best mods on the planet. We appreciate all you do.
Yep. Thank you guys for all the hard work. We really appreciate it. You guys hold it down as mods and make sure we don't have anybody bombing the chat and helping it be a solid environment for everybody to tune in and participate. So we really do appreciate all the support.
Yeah.
Couldn't do it without you.
Shout out to Cormega, my guy. Shout out to George and to the Knicks verse. Hope you're feeling better. Everybody just sent a little thing to George. He has this lingering sinus thing that he had a few weeks ago, the poor guy. So, but he had a great recap yesterday. Check it out if you haven't seen it.
George. And we'll have another great recap today, unless we have a big victory. When we do big victories, George sometimes goes live.
So well, I like his recaps better when they lose, though.
Why is that? He's going off on everybody?
Yeah, it's like, because what's the over-under on the F-bombs? So shout out to you, George.
And also, thank you guys. We got over that 100 like threshold. We really do appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
All right. Whoops.
Woo, woo.
All right, let's get into the next topic. So Sadiq Bey and OG Anunoby aren't the only two that have been discussed regarding the New York Knicks. Here we have this report from Bleacher Report. So the New York Knicks have held exploratory conversations to acquire Malik Beasley and Jared Vanderbilt from the Utah Jazz, according to Michael Scotto of Hoops Hype. The potential deal would reportedly send Obi Toppin, Evan Fournier, and draft compensation to Utah. First of all, we're trading Obi. Why are we also trading the draft compensation? To me, that doesn't make any sense.
I think it's not for Obi. I think it's to get rid of Fournier's contract that they have to throw that in there. But I would, that's crazy.
That's why we're trading Obi, to get rid of Evan Fournier. We shouldn't be including draft picks on top of that.
I'm with you. You're preaching to the choir. When I first saw that, I'm like, well, wait, did they get that wrong? You mean we're going to get a draft pick and back? No, we have to add a draft pick. Get the hell out of here.
Yeah, I'm like, what is going on? First of all, there's no way this could be true. This has to be a lie. For us to give up Obi Toppin, who still has, a year on his contract, was a 8th overall selection for us, and then to try and pair him with Evan Fournier, which was a mistake signing. And then on top of that, we're gonna have to give up some, it doesn't specify, but I don't think it would be second round picks, right? Because that's kind of a waste of time. They would want the unprotected. No?
Well, Utah, absolutely. And also I saw in other
Dealing with
things
Ainge in them.
that I think I saw in other places that Ainge wants at least a first round pick, whether it's for Beasley, whether it's for, so that is his barometer, that you have to give up a first. It's like, get out of here, man. If we're giving you Obi, get out of here.
Right. You should be happy with Obi and Evan Fournier, and that's it. Just make the money match, and we'd get Beasley and Javid Vanderbilt. But even in that sense, to me, that's not a deal I would go about. So that's why when I saw additional draft compensation, I said, "Oh, these guys are crazy if they think this is something that we should be doing." There should be no exploratory conversation. That should be a monologue. That should be them telling you that nonsense, and then you hanging up the phone. Period.
But I'm old school. After the Donovan, there wouldn't be any exploratory conversation with Utah ever again. It's F you. I won't even deal with you guys, man. So what the hell am I on the horn for you to try to fleece me again? Get out of here, man. Get out of here.
Yeah, makes no sense for me. I mean, you can understand maybe bringing in Vanderbilt. He can, defend, and Malik Beasley gives you some scoring, potentially off the bench. But I don't think there's really room for a guy like Beasley once you see the guards that we're throwing out there. We got Grimes, we've got Emmanuel quickly. I think we're set there. It's more guys that can play the three, somewhat of the four, especially if we're gonna trade a guy like Obi Toppin, and Vanderbilt can fill that role, but I don't think he's good enough to um, give away Obi Toppin for, especially if it's just Obi Toppin and a salary dump. I don't think Vanderbilt should be a guy that we should really be targeting and including Obi Toppin in the deal. Once again, if we're trading Obi Toppin, I think it should be someone that comes here and moves the needle. Once again, he was the 8th overall selection. This is a guy that we saw value in at the top of the draft. So to jettison him for a guy like Beasley and Vanderbilt, I think it would definitely be a major mistake.
Yeah, we all full up on 6'5" guys. We don't need any more. And I think he takes my memory around 12 shots a game. Where the hell are those shots going to come from? So yeah, I don't know, where this would come from, but this is nothing but bad news.
Yep, and I can understand the two guys we discussed before, Sadiq Bey and OG Ananobi,
Totally.
but
That's
Beasley and
complimentary to our
Vanderbilt,
roster. That complements our
exactly.
roster. What we need. This is like, get out of here. As crazy it sounds, Jared Vanderbilt is basically a rebounding guy. We have a guy named Jericho Sims that is a rebounding guy that doesn't shoot threes and other stuff.
Yeah, and Mitch is going to come back eventually. So if you want to try to fill the rebounding void by bringing in a guy like Jared Vanderbilt, he's going to be obsolete once Mitch returns. And well, I guess he can still find a role because we traded Obi, and he could probably back up a guy like Julius Randle. But still, I don't think it helps us enough. It doesn't give us enough of a punch to that second unit offensively, which I think is what we really should be looking for if we're going to be making a move to bring in somebody to that second unit. Find somebody that can, still defend, but has a little bit more of an offensive, has a little bit more offensive firepower.
I think we should just be patient. We have Obi under contract, I think, for 8 and change next year. Yeah, let's see. Randall's been unbelievably durable, but that also means statistically that maybe he's due for an injury or to be out sometime. I wouldn't give away Obi. I'm not, I wouldn't give. To me, it's giving away Obi for those guys, and plus adding a draft pick. That's bad front
Ridiculous.
office, ridiculous.
And even with the coach like Tibbs, this team is still a playoff team. Yeah, Tibbs is sabotaging us, but we don't need to make any drastic moves just to get into the playoffs.
Yeah.
And also, I closed the previous poll. Who should the Knicks target at the deadline? Sadiq Bey wins at 81%, and OG Anunoby comes in second with 18%. So let's look at some of these guys' stats. Look at what Beasley does for the season. He's averaging 13.5 points per game, 3.5 rebounds per game, 1.7 assists per game, averaging 1.1 turnovers per game. He's shooting 39.7% from the field, 35.8% from the three-point line, and 84.1% from the charity stripe. And his defensive rating is 118. You look at Vanderbilt, he's averaging 8.3 points per game, 7.9 rebounds per game, and 2.7 assists per game, while shooting 5.6% from the field, 33.3% from the three-point line, and a paltry 65.7% from the charity stripe. But his defensive rating is 112. So yeah,
So what we just said, you're shooting 30. Why do we want to shoot for a guy that shoots, meaning Beasley, 39% from the floor, and that's league average for the three? That's another 6'5" guy. Nah. And Vanderbilt, that's misleading on the 3 points because it's not a lot of attempts. But you
hmm
see that 65, that is very, that's not misleading. He's not a shooter. So he bangs, he gets rebounds, but everything else, nah, you get guys in the draft this year, folks, and stuff like that. That's not somebody that we need.
yeah. And also, let's look at some of their contracts. You can see Malik Beasley. He has a club option for next season. He's making right around $16 million if you average the 2 years out. Um, you would think in a trade like this, the team would definitely pick up the club option. So at least you have a year and a half of team control. So that's something that you can look forward to. And then Jared Vanderbilt, he has a partially guaranteed deal for next season as well. And if he plays well, you would expect the Knicks to pick that up.
Or if they have this grand plan and you have four and 16 is 20 million. So if they trade for him and then they cut both those guys, then they have 20 million for them to go maybe after somebody else.
Go
But
shopping.
that go shopping, but who we opened the show with Tibbs and the way he's treating Cam. Who the hell would want to come over here of their own accord, with everything going on here? But so I don't understand, unless they have a grand plan of either freeing up, but they're not complementary to this roster. So it just makes no sense, us even thinking about doing a trade and also giving up draft compensation. Get out of here.
Yeah, I think they'd probably be used as trade filler because it might be easier for us to bring in a bigger contract via trade as opposed to freeing up the 20 mil because we're still over the salary cap somewhat. So even if we go down to 20 mil, we wouldn't be getting 20 mil to actually spend on another player in free agency. So maybe that's another part of their grand plan or their grand scheme. Keep
Yep.
as much of these tradable contracts and still not try to use or deplete too much of our pick inventory and then try to make a big move there. But to me, this is not the move I would make.
We got to get Brock Aller on. Let's see what he says.
Yeah, facts. And here we have the on-off court stats for the guys that we mentioned today, and also Alex Caruso. So you can see OG Anunoby, Sadiq Bey, and Alex Caruso. Their teams play better with them out there on the court. But you can see the guys that we're trying to target and trade Obi Toppin for, and Malik Beasley and Jared Vanderbilt. Their team is much better with them on the bench as opposed to them on the court.
Yeah, so give up Obi, give up a draft choice and everything for two guys that have a proven record that the team's better when they don't play. Yeah, you just don't do that, man.
Not one bit. And also we have the notification on the bottom just to let you guys know what's good and what's bad.
Yeah, so red means the team is better when the player's off the court. So yeah, so what are we going against guys that just don't have a good record when they're on the court? That's why people go after IQ because he has the green. He's better when the team plays better when plays worse when he's off court, but plays great when he's on the court.
Yep. And this is the section of the show where we get into a top draft prospect. So Foxy, he put together a nice little slide for us to discuss one of the players he thinks the Knicks should target in this upcoming draft, which they say should be a pretty deep draft.
Yeah, folks, this is Bryce Sensabaugh, 6'6", 235 out of Ohio State. I'm calling him this draft's Desmond Bain. As you can see, 17-4, 5.4 rebounds, 1 assist, 51, over 51% from the floor, 47.5. That's right, 47.5 from three and over 80% from the line. But if you watched him, beautiful touch. We watch RJ and a few guys that I love guys that have touch, and that's a gift from the Lord. So he is 15 pounds, 10 to 15 pounds. I want him to lose 10 or 15 pounds. I think it'll add to his quickness, but he is definitely somebody that I would think about. You can't teach touch, and he's just lighting it up, man. So keep your eye on him in the conference, getting into March Madness. I don't know if they'll make March Madness, that Ohio State team, but at least the conferences and in the combine. But he's definitely somebody that you should check out. He's a football body that's playing basketball. He's a big dude, just like Desmond Bain, but just like Desmond, he's a gorgeous release and shooting touch.
Does he have the T-Rex arms as well?
No, actually, that's a great thing. He doesn't have those little dinosaur arms. So, unfortunately, with a lot of the guys, you have to wait for the combine. But it does look visually that he has a plus wingspan.
Okay, where do you see him going in the draft? Because we discussed earlier, we're right around 18 for both picks.
Yeah, I think that there's a really good shot that he's going to fly up the boards. He's going to absolutely fly up the boards because of shooting's a premium. So I think Tankathon has him in the 14 range right now, but depending on the combine and a few other shooting guards, Jed Howard is a lot of people talking about, but I think he may have issues. I don't like, especially on defense. He has major issues on defense, and he has major attitude issues. A lot of stuff is dropping that he's a real prick behind the scenes. And you're like saying, "Yo, his father's a coach. Why is But not everyone's Jalen Brunson. So he's a little diva. So little things like that, folks, on some of the shooting guards in this draft. Is why Bryce might go up there. But I was hoping that with our pick, and hopefully Kyrie doesn't make that Dallas pick too bad, but that we can maybe take those picks and move up a little to maybe look at a guy like Bryce or one of the other players that we've talked about.
And here on Tankathon, you can see where they expect some of these guys to go. Sensabaugh, they have him projected going 14th. So the Knicks would have to package, as of right now, it would be 18 and 19 to try and scoot up to 14 to be in range to actually draft him.
Exactly. So we'll go over some other every week. We said we're going to be dropping a different player, and we'll drop a few, but we love talking drafts. So if you have any questions or anybody that you like, let's talk. But as the season goes on, we'll definitely have some draft shows and talk about it.
MH has a question. He says, how is his defense?
Great question, MH. It's hard in college. It's really hard to assess. It's not something that a lot of teams, you have to have the right coach and stuff like that. At this point, it's okay, but that's why I prefaced it by saying I want him to lose 10 or 15 pounds because I'm looking at him going against NBA guys, and he's going to need that extra speed on perimeter defense. So great question, MH. But I think his defense is, let's put it this way, I think it'll be better than RJ's.
Excuse me.
Yeah, I smell baloney.
Sorry about that, Monty.
Well, what was that? I love goofing with you.
I thought everybody turned off their headphones just now, like, oh man, we got to hear that
Help!
All right, my fault. But thank you for that, Foxy. Really do appreciate it. JJ, he agrees with you. He says, sensible, yes, please. So definitely somebody that the team should be focused on. And I work on a standalone video, put that out there, giving you some pros and cons of drafted him like I did a couple years ago. And Foxy, we'll do a few special draft streams to talk about some of these guys that the Knicks may target if they don't, of course, trade the first round pick. Because I want to go to Summer League this season, and I want to see some of our prospects, and it seems more and more likely that we're not going to be making any picks.
Yeah. Shout out to JJ, really cool dude. And JJ, what I love about JJ is that JJ and I talked about Sensabaugh probably 3 months ago before he was cool. So I love that, we've been watching this for a long time. And so we knew about him before everybody else did.
Yep. Thank you for that, Foxy. That's why you're a major contributor to this show. And we love you here in Sports Vibes TV.
Back at you.
All right. So we'll wrap it up here. Thank you guys. You guys got us to 122 likes during the stream. I think that might be a new high. Well, the year just started, so it's definitely a new high for the year. So thank you for that. We really do appreciate all the support. Foxy, anything you want to say before we sign off?
Just thanks everyone for please subscribing and for your likes, and shout out to, like we said, I see for Warren Franklin, Charlie Ward's cousin pulled up. Really cool dude. I hope all is well. Just everybody. And as we always talk about, sometimes, the show goes and we don't get a chance to call you out, but it's only because of the chaos of doing a live broadcast. But we love you. And as we said, hit us up in the comments, and that we never miss. We'll get back right at you. So, but everyone, thank you so much, and we can't wait to see you next week.
Yep. Thank you guys for tuning in. We really do appreciate the support. We'll be back again next Sunday at 6. We don't have a game next Sunday, do we?
I don't know, but Hail Mary full of grace. I hope whether 6 o'clock is in place. So
Yeah.
so yeah.
If there's any adjustment to the 6 p.m. start, we'll let you guys know. So thank you for tuning in. We once again appreciate all the support, and till next time.